out of the out of respect for the sacrosanct nature of ministry, this is being put out as an addendum to the my most recent ministry upload in regards to integrity. We want to strive to get 100%. That's going to be difficult to do for most of us in this lifetime when we are adding commentary to Holy Scriptures and yeah, because the Holy Scriptures are 100%. And anytime we interject commentary, then we have a risk of falling from 100% to less than, okay? Because we know the Holy Scriptures are sacrosanct and infallible, okay? The addendum is that I had said, and for the most part, I spoke very truthfully. I said that African Americans rejected Mr. President Trump's extension of a invitation into the White House to meet with him personally and have dialogue, conversation, two-way dialogue, because he was really happy and elated to meet with him, and he was actually also happy and elated, as I recalled, due to my memory, which is honest. My witness account, having seen it and heard it with my eyes and my ears. He was so elated in regards to the spike in employment in regards to African Americans. And you could just feel that coming from him. And it was so refreshing to see the most powerful man in the world, a white man, to be so, have his heart invested so deeply into the impacts of the life and quality of life of African American people in his country that he leads. And it was just so genuine and so authentic and so refreshing. But that is fact. That is truth, actually. And that is not the addendum. The addendum is that there was implication that perhaps it was unwise for African American people to decline the invitation. And I want to say, because once again, I cannot be married to an agenda and be married to God at the same time, to be married to truth at the same time, to be married to justice and honesty and authenticity at the same time. So this was not put to disparage African American people in any way, but only to lay out facts so that people can be empowered with the truth, so that ministers will not punish and persecute other ministers for remembering the truth, so that people won't be called crazy when they recount the truth, and so they do not go with the narrative, so that people of America will not persecute one another, sometimes even severely, for remembering the truth. So the addendum is for as follows. It is actually not necessarily unwise because that the invitation was declined. And I also do not remember the circumstances of the decline, in that, was it gracious or not? I don't remember anything. I don't remember if it was disrespectful, neutral, or gracious in the decline. I just remember the fact that it was declined. A gracious decline would be, Mr. President, we are so thankful and appreciate this extension and this invitation into the White House to talk to you face to face. We appreciate that. But we believe that the mechanisms of the system that you are currently administrating and leading would not allow you to, even in good faith, really advance the cause of African American peoples. And for this reason, we declined the invitation. That's extremely gracious and highly professional. Neutral is, we're declining the invitation, Mr. President. We're not really at liberty to share why or feel comfortable with that, but we decline, Mr. President. Disrespectful is, wow, you're like so racist. We're totally not even going to make a formal response to this invitation, etc. So those are three examples: gracious, neutral, and very disrespectful. Now, going along, the truth, I believe, to all peoples is that for a long time, and I'm going to take you back because that's what memory does. That's what integrity does. If you remember a eyewitness account, a ear witness account, it doesn't suddenly magically change because most of the world has been, most of America has been traumatized, because most of America has fallen to lust, because most of America, not many, I shouldn't say most, but many in America have decided that they are, other things are more important than integrity, more important to God, and yes, more important to than their neighbor. And the truth is as follows. There has been a disconnect between holiness and the evangelical community, white evangelical community specifically, that has been wearing Jesus Christ's name as a banner, sometimes in name only, while living double lives, while struggling and not being authentic with others, and therefore hurting the faith of others, hurting their own faith, even of their families, etc., devastating their families. Living these double lives, living a life that's not authentic, that has no integrity, and not admitting to struggles, true, genuine struggle when you need it, needing prayer, which is also understandable in a church that has been for many years dealing with the issue of pride, telling people they don't need to, sometimes have a friend confide in the elders, telling them that there's nothing to repent for, telling them that it's a man cannot say, I committed adultery to his church, and everyone cry and weep like Mr. Jimmy Swaggart did before his death, cry and weep and lament over the sin, and a man be broken before everybody, vulnerable before everybody, but most importantly before his God, and walk in true and genuine integrity. And so now we have a church that does not know what authenticity means, that does not know what true humility means, that looks at the cut of a dress, that looks at the color of hair, and is distracted and more fixated on the outward things than the inward things, where the true, genuine transformation comes from, that can change the outward manifestations that you are currently seeking, but God is not primarily obsessed with, like the flesh is. So now you have like a religious sect, a religious cult arising in America, because truly for years many have been telling you, repent, 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 treat your neighbor the way you would want to be treated, do not do these evil things sexually within the confines of a holy institution such as marriage, do not degrade marriage, so do not live double lives, do not lie to people, do not lie to your wife, do not lie to your husband, do not lie to your children. But this has gone on deaf ears, and it has risen to this that we are experiencing in 2026, where many people have two faces and are acting with sacred things such as sex and marriage and procreation of children, and going before the public and ministering in the streets, ministering on social media with two faces. How dare you? You're handling reverent, sacrosanct material. When you mention the name of Christ, when America goes into other nations militarily, etc., that is sacrosanct. She wears Christ as a banner. When you annihilate people's babies, is there blood on your hands, which can bring curses to America? Because those are souls that could have been won over. This is what happens when you wear Christ as a banner, but you are not prepared to actually walk in integrity. It would be better if you did not mention his name until you are ready to walk in integrity. So African Americans, actually, to put out the truth and reverence that I am mentioning God several times. So I need to elevate my authenticity, my honesty, and my truth, and give a eyewitness account that is as infallible as possible. The truth is, in a system where the white evangelicals, who God would have you as a hedge, as a big brother for your poor black neighbors. Let's keep it nappy and 100% real here. You being one of the most powerful segments of your country as God arose Esther. This is the truth. It may feel uncomfortable. It may be awkward. It's the truth. And you are to be a big brother to your lesser, strong brother who is black, who had slavery impact him for many, many years, continuing on into modern time. Who wants to be able to have a good woman? Who wants her to not be touched, not be raped, and maybe even be able to breastfeed his baby, nurse his baby, raise his baby? Who wants to be able to buy her a ring? Who wants to be able to afford to propose to her? Who wants to feel like a man when he enters his home? And God said, treat others the way you would want them to be treated. You white Christian evangelical, God does not hate you, but you have not really truly been connected with your God, and you must return to your first love. Else you will be a running joke, as you have thought to make your God a joke. As you have thought that you don't care whether a man has a job. As you have thought that you don't care whether your brother who is black is able to propose to his wife. Whether they have good food to eat that meets the quality that can actually sustain healthy children, healthy pregnancies. And just self-respect, which is something every man needs. That is not a luxury. It is a necessity. And you failed because of your own sin. When you walk in sin, it affects other people. And the church may be too backwards to admit it as she walks in her pride, but it is true. When you walk in integrity, it affects other people, and it affects them well, even if they are too blind to appreciate the holiness and the integrity that you are bringing to the table. This is what God is requesting of you, but you have failed to give it to him. You cannot love your black brother. You can't even love yourself or your white brother until you love your God. You will never love people the way that you should until you truly, authentically love your God. The heathen is watching and mocking you, and they are not completely without cause. They see the double lives that you currently are living, and the inauthenticity and the lack of integrity, and their souls are in the balance. If you were walking in holiness, then there would be nothing to your account, no lien on you. But because you are not, you are at risk as being assessed and found wanton when the Lord of the manor returns to his estate to see that the books are all messed up. And the African American community, whether they had discernment or not, they could instinctively discern that with all his whole chest and heart, this white man absolutely did want to help them. But the system and administration that he represents, if we were to make it completely, perfectly, verbatim, clear and honest and come correct with the truth, is not interested in the true benefit of the black neighbor, of the poor neighbor, who has true, not imagined obstacles to overcome. And it is true that it is truth additional to maintain truth and integrity. The poor will be with you always, but they don't exactly have to eat out the trash can and live like dirt. And many can and should be elevated. But until you change your mind frame, any politician, black, white, polka dot, that comes into any public office should have this mind frame as much as humanly possible. I want every man that I represent in this nation of America To the best of my human ability, I want every man who desires a job to have one, because that is not a desire. That is a need for a man. And until white Christian evangelical, until you repent from the double lives you've been living, from the lack of love that you have had for your God, you will never, ever treat other people the way they should be treated. And you need to know that. And you need to return back to your first love and walk in the honor and integrity that all men are called to walk in. So it is not foolish thing that they declined the invitation. For that man, our Mr. President Donald Trump wanted to support them in his whole chest, but the system that he represents is not able to do that, because there are many flaws in the system and they could be properly addressed. It will never be perfect, and the prophecy will stand. The poor will be with you always, but all of us don't have to be poor. And you know that. You know that. But the poor will be with you always, but you can elevate what they eat. You can sometimes elevate where they sleep. You can sometimes elevate the quality of medical care they receive when they do. You can elevate how their interactions are with each other and police officers. You can go out here and with compassion, make sure they don't kill each other. Because you know, many of them, not all of them, many of them are mentally not able. Many are disabled. But you can go out of love when you monitor them, when you watch them, when you make sure they don't slice each other, kill each other. That is an act of compassion. That is something that you owe every man, especially the disabled and the homeless. It should be your mindset that you don't want a single woman in America to be unwillingly trafficked. And for those who would be inclined to pick a life of ill repute, for you should not be naive and hold public office. Some would do that. You would present with your human ability in everything that you are able to do to give them better options. For example, marriage or safe work environments. But I've said, and I'm consistent, I would prefer it be men. Men need the work. I believe many things should, and I know I'm going to sound crazy for this. I believe many things should just be given to women, especially women who have children, especially women in potentially compromised situations. But men need that. And it should be every person, your heart, in your heart, your true heart posture. I don't want a single American woman to be trafficked against her will. I don't care what color she is. I don't care what race she is. I don't care what her economic status is. That should be your heart. That should be where you stand. But until you love your God, you will never love her, ever. I'm trying to tell you, you will never do it. You cannot not love your God and love people. It won't happen, no matter how hard you try. So this is bringing up and elevating due to respect, because I'm mentioning God's name. So I have to do this. Lest you think that Black people just made a stupid decision, because that's how it sounded when I said it. No, the system was not going to. And that is just very sad, because that is a waste of time. When you're meeting with someone with their whole heart wants to help you, but you know better than he does. Because I believe Mr. President Trump is bought into it. However, they knew instinctively that the system he represents is not it doesn't care about them. It doesn't care whether every Black man that wants a job can have one. It doesn't care whether a man is able to have a good woman and he can respect himself enough to be able to propose to her. That is something every man should be able to do. In as much as possible, we know the poor will be with us always. So also we know that moving forward, what does that tell you? What is God prophesying to you? You need to also make your land, for you are Esther, male and female. You are Esther. You need to make a land where people can live in peace with the poor, and the poor can live in peace with people, because we all must do that, for that is Christian love and charity and compassion. And we know better. The churches should never, ever, ever be segregated. We won't even hardly touch on that, because we know that we will never dare to segregate any church in the United States of America on this soil ever again, because we at one time, your forefathers did that. And we will never do that again. The church ought not ever be a segregated place. Ever. So this is the conclusion of the addendum. To keep the integrity of the sacrosanct nature, when I mention God in any single post, to keep it holy and respectful of the God whose name I let come out my mouth. And let this be an example to all ministers, that this is the type of respect that you must show to the God you say you serve. And teach it to your children. Bye.